The best ideas come 2 beers in. The worst ideas come 3. So apparently I was about 2.5 beers in. I looked at my brother-in-law. I was like, this is what Midland needs. Yeah. This is what we need to do. And I text my guys. I'm like, this is what we're going to do. 15 seconds later, they said, we're in. Let's go.
What's up, guys? We're back. It's the Best of Midland Texas podcast. I'm Ryan Shuchuk. This is my wife, Tara Avery. If you're in the mood for interviews with local business owners, entrepreneurs, and personalities right here in Midland, Texas, well, guess what? You're in luck. Today, we have Jeff Thomas, one of the 5 founding members of Tall City Brewing Company. In 2016, while oddly enough drinking beers at a brewery, Jeff had the crazy idea to open up a brewery in his hometown, which we're definitely going to talk about today. We also have Steven Alexander. Steven joined the Tall City team last year as their sales and marketing manager, and he's been working in the craft beer industry for nearly a dozen years. So listen, let's just get into it today. I want to ask you a bunch of questions and let's have some fun. Let's drink some beers. Look at all the beers you guys brought today. We are very, go ahead and, let's just introduce the beers here. Let's just touch on it.
Sure, absolutely. So what we're drinking right now is the newest beer called Porch Pounding Pilsner. Light, crisp, refreshing. It's something you could pound on a porch.
Touche.
Yeah. And then the other one we brought is our Cosmic Cowpoke, which is our double dry hopped New England hazy IPA brewed with Azaka and Galaxy hops. Then some of our staples, our 5-hour drive, which is our honey blonde, as well as our haze, y'all, which is our hazy IPA. And then we brought Oogie, our first sour beer that we brewed.
This has turned into one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That was Ryan's dream beer.
Tara knows my addiction to Troll sour.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. A 5-pound bag hits my house every couple days from HEB.
Like that's how I'll be like, babe, we got to go to HEB and get bananas, and he's like, oh, if I'm going to HEB, I'm getting trolleys. And I'm like, I'll just go by myself.
For Halloween, you go get candy to deliver out to the kids, but then you also buy a 5-pound bag of troll. Right. That's for him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's for an hour.
That's like...
I just turn the lights off. I go, better luck next year.
Sorry, kids.
It's all mine.
On the website, I read, the whole about us, about Tall City, and it said it started as a dream. Can you tell us the history of the dream and how it became a reality?
Yeah. So there's 5 owners, and my personal side of it, 2 of the owners are some of my best friends from way back when. And at that time in my life, that was 6.5 years ago, I knew I wanted, so I worked for in the corporate world in the oil and gas business, and I knew I wanted to do something on my own. I didn't know what it was. And Eric and Nicholas Schmidt, my other partners, are like, what do you want to do? I said, I have no idea. And that was the summer of 16. Then my sister and her husband, who's one of my best friends, they moved to Dripping Springs in Austin, outside Austin. So we went down there for the first time. And he's like, we got to take you to this brewery called Jester King. I said, all right, man, I'm in. And I liked craft beer. I wasn't as passionate as I became. So we were sitting there. And let me preface all this by saying the best ideas come 2 beers in. The worst ideas come 3. So there's a small window, right? So apparently I was about 2.5 beers in. Okay. And the kids and our wives were running around playing or whatever. And I looked at my brother-in-law. I was like, this is what Midland needs. Yeah. This is what we need to do. He was like, he was just acting. He's like, yeah, go get it, whatever. And I text my guys. I'm like, this is what we're going to do. 15 seconds later, they said, we're in. Let's go. So as soon as I got back in town, I filed for an LLC on LegalZoom. I'm a public relations major. I don't know anything about anything.
Okay.
And so
Robert Shapiro hooked you up.
Right? I know what I don't know, right?
Sure.
Or I don't know what I don't know. And I filled all that out. And probably about a month later, we got a Facebook message from a couple other guys. Jared and Josh Sparks said they had the same idea. So we got in touch with them, and they became our partners in this as well. So they kind of had their own ideas for it, and we had our own ideas. We collaborated and felt like it was a good partnership. Nice. So the idea came in October of 2016, and a lot of days went by, raised money, did all this stuff, and finally opened in November of 19. So just over 3 years.
Wow.
And it felt like an eternity. feels like yesterday, but it feels like a decade ago at the same time. You know? So it's been a whirlwind. It was a dream because, you know, I generally play it safe, being in the corporate world and whatnot. And Midland is thought of as old school, right? How would a brewery go in Midland? Well, it actually, when we went through the city, they were 100% for it. We didn't have any obstacles whatsoever. Now, it helped that we're all Midlanders and we all, you know, knew what the community needed. We had a good idea for that. I really thought we were going to get a lot of pushback, and we didn't. And so that was my first sign of like, okay, this might work. When we opened, the first day we opened, November 15th, 2019, it was a Friday. And we're all 5 of us were behind the bar. We didn't have any servers, and none of us have any bar experience. It was
fun,
something to behold. We were idiots behind the bar. It was awful. And
were y'all slammed?
Oh, so it was about an hour before we were open, and Eric looks at me and goes, dude, I'm so worried Noah's going to come. Well, 30 minutes before we opened, the first guy arrived. His name's Michael Brown. If you're listening, Michael, he always gets a free beer every time he comes in.
Shout out.
Yep. And then the line started forming around them. We're like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
That's so cool.
And then the doors opened, and it's just, I felt like I was David Crockett at the Alamo. I got shot first. I'm like, dude, I'm out. We're done. I wanted to burn it after an hour. You know, like, we're done. I can't handle this.
You're just in the back, like, with the keg.
I know. I don't handle stress very well, and that, I'm telling you, that was something to behold. It was awesome. I was the GM for a couple years, so I ran it for a couple years. But after that night, I was like, we need servers. We don't know what we're doing, and we need people that have experience and can deal with people a lot better than me.
Yeah.
And so just have kind of the short version of it and long.
I moved here a year later during the pandemic, so I'm kind of interested about that. Like, you opened it up basically 4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
It was super stressful. We had to learn a whole lot, but it was also, the servers and me and our brewer, we got really close.
Yeah.
Because we had to be creative. Now, the community was phenomenal. They didn't want us to shut down. They kept supporting us and all this stuff. We knew that eventually this was going to, you know, we were going to go back to normal at some point. And it was crazy, but it was awesome now that I look back on it. It wasn't awesome in the middle of it, but looking back on it, we're stronger
now that you're on the other side. Yeah. Well, I bought a growler before we went out to my cousin's house for July 4th, and just me and my brother drink it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of beer for 2 people.
Yeah.
And then we did it again a few weeks
it's
later.
It's all relative, isn't it?
You know,
Come on, Terry.
half empty, half full.
I mean,
For those who haven't been to Tall City, it's not some operation in the back of, you know, somebody's garage. This is a large operation, right? So
that was on purpose. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So for the rest of us out there who've also have had this idea over 2 beers to open up a brewery, we probably have it weekly. From a commitment level and especially like a financial level, can you sort of just break down, without obviously, you know, saying numbers, but just like going like, this isn't just like, oh, we'll just open it up, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And okay, that's a great question. So when I first had the idea, a couple months later, I went and visited my brother-in-law who owns a distillery in Fort Worth.
oh,
And I said, okay, what do I need to know? What that you didn't know, right? The first thing he said, he goes, well, if I knew then what I know now, I would have had cold feet. I'm like, okay, awesome. Wow, okay, all right.
He's like, I'm not telling you nothing.
I better be committed. So, and it's true. There's just a lot. There's just a lot with everything. So it's going to cost twice as much, and it's going to take twice as long.
Yep.
At the very least. And it's true, because when you have this idea, you're thinking, okay, 6 months from now, we're going to be serving beer. It's going to be great. It took us over 3 years to get it done. And because you got to find the right partners, because we raised money, local money. We didn't go to a bank, we raised local money. Doing that, getting all your permits, getting the contractors and the builders, and, you know, you got to brew the beer, but you got to have the equipment in place, and you got to have the CO2 in place, and you got to have all this stuff. I mean, it's just Like I said, I'm a public relations major, not an engineer, nothing. So it's like, man, I'll talk to people, but I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Sure. But we had the right people in place. We had the right owners. We had the right brewer at the time. We had the right investors. It just worked. The city of Midland made sure it was going to work. So you got to have a buy-in with the community.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one. Especially opening up your own brewery. Because I mean, I've seen so many breweries that don't have that buy-in with the community, and they're only open for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then they shut down.
That's a
Yep.
lot of work for just 6 months.
And so that's the best thing I can say. Just you do it right, so you don't have to redo it, and make sure you raise enough money.
Okay.
Period. End of story. Because if you don't raise enough money, you're not opening. And if you're going to open, you're not going to be open for very long.
From my outsider perspective, right, non-Texan, I sort of get the sense here in West Texas that like Austin sort of gets a bad connotation, like with
They
people
get a bad
in town.
rap.
Yeah, like
Don't California my Texas. Have you heard that yet?
yeah, I've heard that. So is Austin, California in that
Well,
equation?
I mean, I've always viewed as West Texas kind of in its own bubble.
Okay.
And which is good and bad, mostly good in my opinion. But Austin does things right. Obviously I'm a Red Raider. He is too. And it's the Longhorns there. We don't care about them. But really it's a completely different culture.
It is.
It is even Dallas and Houston are completely different cultures than here also.
Sure.
But what I do think they do right is recreational scene, whether it's parks or the sports complexes or things like that.
Yeah.
And I've always thought Midland, growing up out here, there's not a lot to do but play sports and things like that. So that's what I do. I have a 10-year-old son. That's what he does. And I've always thought with the amount of resources we have here, and why wouldn't we have the best complex west of Fort Worth? And they're working on it, and Hogan's gotten a lot better. That's one thing. A lot of people here, I'm all about keeping money here, jobs and the money here. But a lot of people on the weekends, they leave.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to open the brewery. We wanted to keep people here.
Give people a reason to stay.
Yeah, right. And I'm guilty of it. I'm sure you're guilty of it.
Yeah.
You're going to go to the lake on the weekend or go to Ruidoso, go to the mountains or whatever it is. But Austin does a good job of having people stay there. We go to Austin for vacation, but they do a lot of that. And I also think what we talked about earlier, the local buy-in, they support local like nobody else.
Even if they're not originally from there, right?
Right.
They're just
And a ton of options too, right?
Yeah.
You're going to their food truck park. You're going to their taco shops. You're going to their breweries.
On a Waffle House.
You go to a Waffle House?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
He's never been to a Waffle House.
I haven't either.
Been to a Waffle House.
I haven't either.
Yo. If Trevor Lawrence can go to a
Yeah, I
Waffle
know,
House,
right?
you can go to a Waffle House.
Well, so when we were in Fort Worth recently, we're like stopping to get gas on the way home, and he sees a Waffle House, and he's like, I've never been to a Waffle House. I'm like, well, did you want to go to this one? He's like, no, I just want to get home. But then the next day, I'm like reading the
Depends
news,
what time of day too.
and it was like somebody like threw a chair over the counter
Yeah,
at
she
the
caught it.
and she like threw it away, like bashed it away.
That's
That's
I
a
was
Tuesday
like-
at the
Sounds
Waffle
amazing.
House.
That's a Tuesday.
Standard
Waffle House.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Breakfast hibachi place.
want-
Did you see the memes where they like, or the videos where they like cut in like John Cena?
John Cena.
Dun, 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 dun.
What about particularly like the beer scene or the breweries? Because there's a ton of breweries. I mean, there's a ton of breweries in Texas as a
Sure.
whole. But like, is there anything from the beer scene that you feel like could migrate to Midland or West Texas?
That's a good Steven question.
Okay.
Is it me?
I think so.
I mean, from Texas as a whole, it's already kind of happening. First off, the state of Texas is so behind in the industry of craft beer as a whole, but you have all of these different breweries from West Texas to East Texas down to the Gulf to up in the Panhandle. We're all kind of doing our own unique little thing right now. We're all doing like our unique little thing right now. But getting some of that style, I guess, that's what you're kind of asking, like those beers from these big cities. I mean, we're kind of already doing it.
Okay.
Coming with this sour, and there hasn't been really an imperial sour brewed in West Texas.
I think
That's
you
true.
have a lot of people who live in Midland who aren't from Midland. They're from Dallas, Houston, Austin, or whatever. So they bring what their community had, their local breweries had, and so they kind of bring the demand to us, and we kind of hear what they want. A sour from the day we opened, people have asked about a sour, and we finally did it, and we nailed it. So you get a lot of that. You get a lot of transplants that kind of tell you what they want, and it kind of morphs the culture here.
Also, here in West Texas, it's like, let's push your flavor profile. You know, like, yeah, we could have done a basic sour, like we could have done like a Goza, add some lemons to it, and, you know, just something basic. But no, it's like, let's push the envelope. Let's push your flavor profile. Let's add 20 pounds of gummy worms into a sour beer.
He's the master at that. And I'm so simple-minded. I'm like, yeah, let's do a sour. He goes, we're going to take it 3 steps further. I said, let's go, dude. Let's go.
I don't love sours. Like, I like to have a sip of sour.
Sure.
But that's about it. But also, in my defense, the first sour I ever had was the Salty Lady.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever had that?
Yeah, it's very salty.
The Martin House
So
salsa.
gross.
So sours are good palate cleansers if you're going in between beers.
We got sours for us are like lake beers.
Yeah.
I don't even like it at the lake. Like,
We're gonna
we
be out in the
left that
sun.
beer at the lake 3 years ago, and nobody's had it since.
So let's talk about the word craft, okay, in craft beer. So had to do a little bit of research. Again, I'm not a beer nerd, for lack of a better word, but I know it started with like microbrews were the thing, right? Microbreweries, and then we got into craft beer, craft breweries. And I read recently, like, there's sort of a movement in the craft beer world to maybe start using the term indie beer. Like, has craft run its course? Is it too saturated? Is it fake, or what is the meaning behind this?
It's fake. No. Well, when it comes to it, like, especially whenever you're saying craft and you said microbrewery, well, craft is kind of more than just microbrewery. So you have macro breweries, and then you also have microbreweries.
Okay.
So microbreweries are breweries that brew 15,000 barrels or less. So like us, you know, we're going to hit about 4,000 barrels, hopefully at the end of, you know, this year. Hopefully
That's annually.
Yes, okay. That's annually. Okay. While you have, you know, these bigger breweries, let's say Sierra Nevada, Stone, New Belgium, they're over here hitting about 300,000 barrels a year. You know, they're just they're cranking it, and so that's macro. What was happening is that you have all these craft breweries getting bought out, and so it's like, all right, well, you're still craft technically, but are you independent? Are you independently owned? And that's one of the biggest things I like to tell people is, like, seek the seal. If you see a brewery that doesn't have this, like, seal on it, then are you really supporting craft? Okay. Independent beer, it's pretty much, I call it neighborhood beer. You know, it's something that is brewed for your neighborhood, brewed for your community. And that's what kind of the difference between that and craft. Because, you know, like, you'll have all of this different craft beer coming out of, you know, InBev or Miller Coors or Constellation or Diageo. And it's like, oh yeah, it's craft. But are you really brewing for your community? Or are you just doing mass production?
Okay, so like the term craft, if a macro brewery can still make a craft beer, like has the definition of it sort of like
Are the goalposts moved?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
They have, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And that's why, you know, it goes back to like independent indie beer.
Okay.
Indie beer. Search for indie beer. Seek the seal.
That's why a lot of the big brands came out with hazy IPAs and things like that to try to infiltrate into that craft market rather than a domestic light, you know, mainstream beer.
But even then, you know, you have like Anheuser-Busch or InBev. They're like, oh, yeah, we're going to acquire Goose Island. Right. And what are they known for? They're the breweries that was like pretty much the brewery that started barrel aging beer here in the United States.
Oh.
And so it's like, all right, well, we'll take that from the craft section. We'll still call it craft, but it's no longer independent.
A little sneaky.
Okay, so it was almost a tactic to go like, hey, we know this is sort of a trend, for lack of a better word, right? And like
absolutely.
And so it's almost like the Steve Buscemi meme where he's in high school pretending with a skateboard.
How's it going, fellow kids?
Yeah, exactly. So that's InBev, you know, in craft beer.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
That's exactly what it is.
There's a beer name and something going on with this.
Oh, I like this. Right. Yeah, the think tank's here. I mean,
I love it.
two more beers is going to be too much. It'd be bad ideas,
Yeah.
but
I want some more
we got some going here.
I have an Oogie that's open.
Have y'all tried that yet?
Or we have
had that at the house.
We're going to open up the Cosmic Cowpoke. Do you like IPAs?
I do. This is where we differ.
I will try
He will
it.
try it.
I will try it, of course. Okay, so what's this one?
This is the Cosmic Cowpoke, our double dry hop New England IPA that we're coming out with pretty soon.
January 21st.
Brewed with a Azaka and Galaxy hops, Galaxy,
Got
Cosmic.
it. This I can do. Most IPAs are just to my nose. They're too much.
Too dank?
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, am I back in Vegas or what's happening?
Just anytime I have an IPA, I start craving feta or goat cheese.
Jack in the Box.
Hey.
That's probably what it is.
Hey, yo.
Okay, so we touched on it a little bit with the craft breweries getting bought up by big beer. Last year I read Stone Brewing, which I believe that was the first bigger brewery that I'd ever taken a tour. That was the place where I realized, oh, I don't like IPAs, and maybe just because they were so hardcore. Right,
It's like they try to make it as bitter as possible and undrinkable and taste like a shoe as possible.
yeah. I was like, oh, okay. And then I realized,
I know what you mean.
Okay, I'm not in this crowd. I get it. Right?
You didn't have a handlebar mustache at the time?
I did not.
Okay.
I mean, that's all what Stone does, are IPAs.
Stone was actually purchased by AKA Big Beer, right? Sapporo, which is the biggest Asian beer in America, right? So huge company, like $160, $170 million. So when you read these headlines, is it like, oh, here we go, another sellout? Or is it just like, hey, business is business?
For me, it's a mixture of both. It's like each brewery has their own story and they're going through their own stuff. So if it's better for them to sell out, good for them, especially to keep their beer alive instead of going under.
Yeah.
Because that's honestly most of the take on some of those breweries like Stone, or Modern Times, or New Belgium, It's and even then now Bell's, no one wanted to take that brewery's leadership or ownership because it was a family-owned business and no one wanted to do it in the family anymore. So they're like, well, I guess we're going to sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Every situation is different.
Yeah.
Every brewery's businesses are different and their financials are different. On one hand, you want to stay true to what you've been promoting, keeping it local, keeping it independent. And on the other hand, do you want to set your kids and their kids
Right.
up where they don't ever have to worry about anything? So, I mean, there's a dichotomy there. So if we were ever offered anything, I honestly don't know what we would do. I'd like to think we would like to keep it local, but I also like to think that I'm going to take care of my family.
Sure.
Yeah. And who knows if your kids are going to want
exactly.
to continue the tradition.
Yeah. I look at that sort of like you'll see that in the music industry, right? Where this independent, artist or something, and all of a sudden they get a huge deal, and everybody's like, "Oh, you sold out." I was like, isn't that the point?
One of my old colleagues used to say, back in the oil and gas business, he goes, "We're not doing this. We're not in this for practice. We're going to take care of our families. We're going to make money."
Yeah.
But with the craft beer industry, there's
I don't think it's like that in the craft beer industry.
Not at all. And it was a eye-opening experience for me. It's all about artistic creativity, opening up your creativeness to the community, trying to get a buy-in from the community, trying to be a part of it, trying to be a big presence in it. So there is, some back and forth. Sure. Now, if I go to a brewery and I don't see this label, I'm personally not going to buy it.
For the people out there who want to support independent breweries, and they like what they think is craft beer, they just might not know that, again, there's a sort of camouflage there. You think it's craft, but it's really InBev, right? And so,
absolutely.
Is that the best way? To go look for the seal.
Yeah,
look for the seal.
Seek the seal.
Okay. Seek the seal.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm playing golf and someone hands me a Coors Light, I'm going to drink the heck out of it, right? But when I go use my own personal money,
sure,
and being in the business and knowing the hardships that it's gone through and how hard it is to be successful, yeah, I'm going to support that. And there's enough out there. If an IPA is not your thing, there's going to be a Pilsner out there or a Golden Ale or something that speaks to you, right? You're going to find that. That's kind of how I've always thought of it. I mean, every time I go to the store, I look for something new. And there's enough independent craft beer that I'm going to be able to buy.
I think Texas, as we've gotten out to different cities and had to go, hey, we just need to make a late night run at the grocery store.
Yeah.
I think we've been a little
Spoiled
in terms of open up the beer coolers. Because again, like I think for all the people who love to go to breweries, there's those people who are like, they've never been. Their brewery is their grocery store cooler.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And they're going like, all right, I do want to try something new. But again, it could be something, a facade, or, sure.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's Corona's, new called a craft beer or something like that, right?
Fake.
And I say Texas. HEB is like great with that, right?
Oh,
HEB
absolutely.
is fantastic.
Texas beer. You're like, I can experiment, but I'm still supporting, the place where I live.
Sure,
right?
for sure. And HEB's great with that, but so is, your local mom and pop liquor stores and beer stores. Like,
Shout out Mr. T's.
Mr. T's, what up? They
it,
just
Terry.
crush it because they're here. Like going back to it, like, yeah, we want to support local, keep it here.
Terry's the best.
Terry is.
We're
is
there
the
every
best.
week. We love Terry.
So after school, my mom used to always go to the Y right there and work out, and I'd go to the daycare or whatever they had after school care. And afterwards, we'd always stop at that store, Mr. T's, and she'd get a Diet Coke or whatever. And then one day, someone said, this is a few years ago, it was Michelle, who works for us now. She said, have you ever been to Mr. T's? I go, not in 35 years. But, and she said, you need to go there. Their craft beer selection is phenomenal. I said, what? I think this is right before we opened or right after we opened. And I went in there. I said, oh, my gosh, this is not the store I used to come into when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's a nice little honey hole.
Yeah, we've heard that from a number of people. We're like, I've lived here my whole life. I've never been to Mr. T's.
He's turned so many people onto it, like friends.
I found it Untapped, the Untapped app.
Cool. You can stop doing that now. Now I know where all that good beer's going.
Sorry.
Like we used to go
Other than the brewery.
Yeah, like every.
Well, you know what? Maybe if you guys get scratch offs there too, then you'll have your own line.
Oh, hey, that's another good beer name.
There you go.
Scratch offs.
And find the labels that you can scratch off.
Scratch off.
Kind of like you go
Alright,
to Wendy's
say
and
less,
pull
get
the
ready.
So, how do you deal with competition and what I feel is going to be inevitable competition, growing in Midland, right? Because of the scene. And then how do you look to stand out or continue to stand out?
For sure. Well, I'll take the first
Go
one.
for it, dude.
It's our biggest competition is like us as a whole because like we want to do better. We know what we're able to doing. We want to go from good to great, but it's also nowhere else in West Texas is doing what we're doing when it comes to the brewing scene right now, and what we're able to do and what our business model is able to do and what our brewery is able to do. And what, not only that, our team, we're going to get ready, buckle up, everybody. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I mean, you can find our beer in Lubbock, San Angelo, all the way down to Big Bend National Park, and it's all over throughout the Permian Basin and soon to Amarillo.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. But, one of the biggest things is we are the biggest competition to ourselves because we always want to do better. We're always pushing ourselves to do better and be better.
One thing that we've tried to establish within our brewery is a culture of everyone can basically just voice their opinion. There's so many personalities, right? And how do you pull that in and take those strengths, enhance those strengths and use those? And anybody has an idea or whatever it is, we'll listen to it and if we all collaborate and think it's a great idea, we'll move on with it. Things like that. So we think we're leading the way in craft beer in West Texas, and that's not going to change.
But answering your second question, I would say, unlike every kind of other beer that you see in the cooler, like we're made here. Like we brew it right here at 3303 West Golf Course Road. We can relate. We can have those community engagements. Like, hey, we're here. Let's do a tasting. Let's do a pint night or a tap takeover. Or how do we get you to our brewery?
Yeah.
The brewery is the biggest marketing tool, period. Is like we can do so many different events. Like Logan and his crew are just crushing it. Doing what different events.
Logan's our
there.
taproom manager.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Shout out to Logan.
Logan, hey.
Caleb Lurgan. Shout out to Logan. But that's one of the biggest tools, and that's what I love doing, especially when I'm out in the market, talking to these restaurants, talking to these bar owners, talking to everyone under the sun. It's like, come see what a brewery looks like.
Yeah.
Come see what you're selling.
What we call a tasting and a tour. It's awesome that you can talk about this product. And it's a tangible product, so you get immediate results, right? And with people who don't like IPAs,
I mean,
Ryan,
Yeah. Well,
He doesn't think he
IPAs.
does. But we say, okay, you're going to get a grapefruit pineapple nose. You're going to get some tangerine on the mouth, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah, I get that, or a stout, you're going to get some coffee. It's not heavy. It's a lighter stout, stuff like that. So they come in, you can explain it. You got one-on-one time, take them how it's done.
Yeah.
And then they're sold. And so it's a really good marketing tool for us, like he said.
how do you balance the need for constant innovation and experimentation with actually like having a profitable business model?
Yeah, well, the craft beer should be fun,
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we're able to do that. And, we have a 30-barrel system, so we can brew, the Saison like what we did, or, our 5-hour drive, our hazy ale. But what we just got in this past year is our pilot system. So it's like, let's experiment a bit. What do we got going on in there? Let's, for us brewing a sour, which everyone's been wanting since they opened, we could have done, like I said, a basic sour. Let's do a Goza, add some lemons to it, and name it after a cocktail. But it's like, no, let's not do that. Let's push the limit. Let's add some gummy worms. Let's make it an 8.5% beer. If we're gonna do something like gimmicky, let's do it big. We're big in like West Texas beer for West Texans.
Yeah.
So it's like let's push the envelope. Let's see what's next.
Yeah, there's a balance. Our 5-hour drive still our number one beer. Our first beer that we came out with, and it's still our number one beer. There's a good balance. People want to try new stuff, but they still go back to what they know.
Yeah, the
Old
what they
Faithful.
love.
Yeah,
Yes.
the old faithful.
Yeah.
But what you guys are saying is you have a system in place to where you don't have to sacrifice brewing your flagship beers to try something that may or may not hit.
We have an opportunity to experiment. Some may work, some may not. And if it really works, then we can throw it on the big system
Okay.
and produce it.
Yeah.
Up to varsity.
Absolutely.
Right.
We got JV,
Right.
then we got varsity going
Yes.
on right now. And
And so it's an opportunity for us to be creative and be goofy and have fun with it, Because on the big system, it's hard to do that because it gets expensive.
it sure
Yeah.
does.
You have quality assurance. I mean, what happens if a batch goes bad for whatever reason, right? That's money lost, right?
It sure is.
Exactly. Been there, done that.
Yeah, and our production team, with Joe, our head brewer, and then Michelle, our assistant brewer, they're just crushing it. Like
kill it.
we're pretty much already have our brewery calendar of what we're brewing until August right now.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we're all right. This is what it is. This is what we're brewing. Get ready. All right,
And they're all super creative people, which
Absolutely.
I truly admire because I'm not at all. So to hear those ideas and then watch the history and then watch them brainstorm and bounce things out, I'm like, dude, this is awesome. And they're professional, right?
Yeah.
They get their job done and they can still have fun. So it's pretty awesome to see.
Shout out to Michelle, by the way, who
Yes.
was one of the first people in town to buy a 40 Wolves T-shirt.
Yeah.
Hey.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
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 Just
And
on
then
a-
we walk into the brewery one day, like we knew she bought it.
Well, I asked her, I go, what's 40? She told me. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic.
just as a goof, because I'm in branding, right? So I'm like, listen, I'm not expecting to sell these, but I'll wear my
And you've
shirts
sold
hats
quite a few.
everywhere because I'm, you know what I mean.
yeah.
And then she like out of the builders bought one. I go,
I'll buy one.
that's Michelle
I'll buy one.
from Tall City. And so I went there and I was like, dude, you're a
Yeah,
rock star.
man.
I was like, she's
Oh,
like, yeah,
Michelle's awesome.
she's awesome.
I can't wait till this graham cracker.
Hey, the crude series.
Yeah, the crude series. That's my jam.
Yeah. Oh, I'm super stoked
I mean,
for
I
that.
could come and help crush graham crackers.
Okay. I have plenty of graham crackers that we need like opened and crushed.
Oh, cool.
I can do both of those.
I'm busy. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
Last year you brought on Steven, just rock star.
Oh, he's
Thanks.
the best.
Appreciate
He's
y'all.
the
Hey,
best.
cheers to you guys.
I feel like
Steven's
so many like
fantastic.
events have come up and just super fun. Bingo night and
Hey.
and all different
Bingo
types
night
of
was
things.
fun. I got to see somebody I went to high school with that I haven't seen since graduation.
Bingo brings them out.
It's coming back.
Okay.
Get ready. Bingo is coming back.
And like we brought up earlier, you brought in Miami Joe, your new head brewer. He's a great guy. He's really cool.
He is.
We want to know what you're brewing up, pun intended. But we want like 2023 start of the year. We want to know like events, collaborations. Obviously, there's probably some things you need to keep secret, but
Like
we're just
general
excited
ideas.
to see where you guys are taking Tall City.
The beauty of it is we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
We can be as creative as we want. We can do whatever we want. Luckily, we have Steven and the crew that are creative and they come up with awesome stuff. And they've told me what they've done. And I'm like, Oh my gosh! Like I love beer, and I just want to try stuff.
Sure.
I love the names. I love what they do. I had about a year period where I was creative with some of these names, and now I'm like, dude, I can't think of anything. And
They call that writer's block, Jeff.
It's about 3 years in, but I'm good.
I heard your wife has quite a bit to do
She
with
came
some
up with
names.
that one.
Shout out to
Nice.
Brittany.
Yep.
Thank you, Brittany.
Yeah, she's the best.
He's right. You know, we're able to do so much, but we have so much cool stuff coming out. You know, like I said, Joe is right now brewing a 90-barrel batch of beer. We're going to be releasing the Permian Pilsner. It's going to be coming out full force. It's going to be in 6-packs. You'll be able to find it all around the West Texas, the Permian Basin. And then we have another fan favorite that we're going to be packaging up, and you're going to be able to find it at HEB, your grocery, like your local mom and pop shops. And the fan favorite, I'm just going to say it's an agua fresca. Shout out to the Manojano brothers and the Pecos Cantaloupe, because we are going to be packaging the Pecos Cantaloupe agua fresca. But also, you know, we have so many cool beers that are coming out. Crude is our stout series, and stouts, not only just a stout, we're making imperial stouts. So they're going to be big, boozy stouts. And they're all named after, you know, some sort of shell or kind of oil.
It's all oil and gas related.
Oh, absolutely! Like
It's really cool.
the first one coming out will be February 4th. It's called Guadalupian. It is a blonde stout, so it looks pretty much like your glass right now, but it has the whole mouth body feel of a stout, and that will be like a 10% plus beer. That one will be our graham cracker peanut butter chocolate blonde stout.
Excited.
And then after that will be Wolf Camp, which will be our Mexican hot chocolate imperial stout. That will be 13%. That was a 12-hour boil.
Like stouts are my love language.
Right? Wow. And then after that, we're going to throw in like another special stout in for Mardi Gras. It's going to be a Banana Foster stout. And that one will be on Mardi Gras. So on Tuesday.
All right, clear the calendar. We're not going anywhere.
Cold, by the way.
On Tuesday, of Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday, we're going to be releasing that Banana Foster stout. And then the last one will be the strawberry, the sprayberry, but it's a strawberry raspberry imperial stout.
Sprayberry.
Yeah.
Terry, you
that
okay?
one will be a Russian imperial stout, so that one will be about 15%.
Well, like the
15%.
What? Are you trying to kill me?
No.
We'll share it.
We'll come in like a shot glass.
It's a shareable. It's like a dessert beer.
That's what we have coming out. And then we have all these different collabs that we have going on. Like, we're going to be brewing a beer for Mr. T here soon that he's going to package, you know, like stuff like that.
Oh, man.
Are you so jealous?
Terry, he deserves it, man.
You know.
Yes, he
does.
does.
He's such a great
does.
guy.
Yep.
He's such a great guy.
We have one, we're brewing up one for, you know, Cork and Pig. And that's going to be kind of their flagship beer throughout all of the Cork and Pigs, wherever you can find them. So we're really excited for that. And then we have some other collabs that we can't really talk about quite yet.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you guys coming in, and expect us there even more so. We're probably there every weekend at this point.
Well, we're super thankful for people like you that truly enhance and support local business in Midland, which needs all the help they can get.
Yeah.
And people like you keep us in business.
Thank you.
Period.
So appreciate y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't make Tara cry.
I'm getting teared up.
no,
and I just got my lashes done, so I can't.
But hey, let's end
Let's
end this episode with a final cheers.
Yeah,
and,
cheers.
Cheers to Tall City Brewing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And listen, we'll see you on the next one.
Hey, see you soon.
Peace.
Bye.